So, remember late 2022 when ChatGPT launched? It didn't just arrive, it landed in the world of education like a meteor. All of a sudden, every single student had this potential expert, this essayist, this tutor right in their pocket. And for educators, well, that raised a huge immediate question. Is this powerful new technology a threat to learning, or is it the greatest tool we've ever had?
Here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of this change. Then we'll dive into both sides of the coin, the incredible promise AI holds for learning, and of course, the very real dangers we just can't ignore. After that, we'll talk about a practical strategy for dealing with it all and pinpoint the one skill that's going to define the future: AI literacy.
You could really call it a big bang moment for education. The release of ChatGPT wasn't some slow, gradual shift. No, it was an overnight revolution that basically forced schools everywhere to react, and react fast. There was no time to sit around and think about it. And just to give you a sense of the scale here, look at this number, 1.8 billion. That's how many people were using ChatGPT by May of 2023. That's less than 6 months after it came out. This wasn't some niche tool for techies. It was a global phenomenon being used by tons of students, putting this immense pressure on educators to figure out what on earth it all meant. And this, right away, created a massive divide. On one side, you've got this fear that AI is just a high-tech cheating machine, a way to short-circuit the entire learning process. But on the other side, you've got this optimistic view that it's a powerful new partner that can actually push students to think more critically. And that's the central tension we're going to unpack. All right, let's start with the good stuff, the optimistic view. Because far from being just a threat, a lot of forward-thinking educators are already finding some incredibly creative and, frankly, effective ways to use AI to make learning better, not worse. The potential benefits here are just huge. We're talking about everything from personalized learning for every student and instant feedback on their work, to automating all those tedious admin tasks that eat up a teacher's time. The core idea here is that AI can be a powerful partner, freeing up educators to do what they actually do best: teach. And these aren't just abstract ideas, they're happening right now. Picture this. You're in a history class. Instead of just reading a chapter about Cleopatra, you can now actually talk to her. Students can ask questions, they can probe for details, they can engage with history in this super dynamic way. It turns a static subject into a living, breathing experience. It can even flip the script entirely. How do you really explain the genius of Shakespeare? Well, one really clever method is to have students ask an AI to write a sonnet, and then compare that, often bland, formulaic text to the real thing. And all of a sudden, Shakespeare's style, his tone, his creativity, it just becomes crystal clear by contrast. The AI's limitations actually become the lesson. But of course, it is not all sunshine and roses. For all of its promise, the rapid spread of AI brings with it some really legitimate challenges and serious risks that we absolutely cannot afford to ignore. And the concerns are pretty widespread. Beyond the obvious fears about cheating, you've got serious issues with data privacy, you've got bias baked into the algorithms, and you have the risk of AI just confidently making stuff up. They call that a hallucination. Not to mention, the high cost could make the gap between rich and poor schools even wider. And this bias isn't just some theoretical problem, it has real-world consequences. Get this. One jaw-dropping study found that the AI detectors that were supposed to catch cheating were actually deeply unfair. They flagged over half of the writing samples from non-native English speakers as being AI-generated. Imagine the damage that could do to a student's academic career. And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of the matter. Technology can and should be a powerful tool, but it can't and it shouldn't replace the core human connection between a teacher and a student, or that personal struggle and triumph that defines what real learning feels like. Okay, so you've got this incredible opportunity on one hand, and these significant risks on the other. So the big question for every single school and university is, what do we do now? A reactive, piecemeal approach just isn't going to cut it. We need a strategy. So instead of just reacting with random experiments or, outright bans, institutions can actually borrow a page from the business world. The idea is to shift from this defensive crouch to a proactive strategy, one that's focused on using this technology effectively and, just as importantly, safely. This cycle gives a really clear path forward. It starts with a vision.
Like, why are we even using AI in the first place? Then you test it out in small, manageable pilot projects. Critically, you need a culture that supports trying new things and considers the entire ecosystem. And maybe most important of all, you have to involve teachers every single step of the way. They're on the front lines. Now, a huge part of that strategy is rethinking how we even test for learning. I mean, if a generic essay can be written by an AI in 30 seconds, then maybe the generic essay isn't a very good test, right? Instead, we can shift to assignments that are more specific, more personal, and use different media, things that AI really struggles with, and that actually show what a student truly understands. So looking ahead, the ultimate goal here isn't just to AI-proof our classrooms. It's to create a whole new generation of students and teachers who are genuinely AI literate. People who know how to work with these tools as collaborators to get better results. And the most critical skill in this new world, it's something called prompt engineering. It's basically the art and science of asking the right questions. If you just type a vague request into an AI, you're going to get a vague, mediocre answer. But learning how to craft a precise, detailed, and well-structured prompt, that is how you unlock its true power. Okay, but how do you teach that? Well, thankfully, we don't have to guess. There are frameworks popping up to give us a clear, structured way to do this, and one of the most practical ones for educators is called the IDEA framework. IDEA gives us a simple 4-step process. The I is for including all the essential parts in your prompt. D is for developing it with clear language. E is for evaluating the AI's response and then refining your prompts to make it better. And A is for applying the output with accountability, always remembering the tool has limitations. Look, at the end of the day, the debate is over. Trying to ban or ignore AI is a losing battle. It's already woven into the fabric of our world. So the question isn't if AI belongs in education anymore. The real question is how we adapt. How do we evolve? And are we, all of us, truly ready to learn alongside the most powerful learning tool ever created?